old, but that's what I'm saying. Massive. It is huge. I'm giving up. Just a disaster. Oh my God, what have I done? This is the Nora yarn. Oh my God. I probably should have brushed my hair before I started this, but whatever. We're here. Hi guys, welcome back to the Smash Knits Knitting Podcast. This is episode 8. Oh my God, we're here. I feel like I've done way more episodes. I feel like because this has been going on for so long, I feel as if I have been doing this for much longer. But yeah, apparently it's only episode 8, but it feels longer. I don't know. But I am super excited for this episode. It's going to be a bit of a longer podcast, so grab something to eat or something to drink. I have got something very special to drink. This is my classic Red Bull and Ice. You know me, I like to pretend that I'm drinking tea, but it's really Red Bull and Ice because I am white trash. But what is not white trash is this beautiful, gorgeous little sheep mug that my lovely knitting friends got me. So shout out to them. Thank you so much. I love it so much. And the reason why they got it for me is because it was my birthday recently. So I just think it's the most adorable little mug. It's got a little sheep and I love sheep. Anything kind of like wool sheep themed, I'm obsessed with. So I feel very, very spoiled to have received this mug because I didn't have to do anything like that. And it was just really, really nice. So when they gave it to me, they're like, oh, you can drink your Red Bull out of it. I'm like, oh, yes, I will. So thank you so much. Iced Red Bull is the best, especially when it's hot weather. It has been really hot here in Australia, like just, you know, low 30s to like high 30s, 40, you know, this is Celsius. So I think that's like 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, it's been so hot and we've been having issues with our air conditioner. So if I start to like look a bit sweaty, just bear in mind that's why. I really wanted to wear some knitwear today, but especially because I've got this pink shirt and I love wearing my pink Friday slip over, but it's just way too hot and I will like sweat to death. So I feel like in summer this year, especially in Melbourne, it's been more of a long kind of delayed summer. It's getting really hot now. But mentioning my birthday, that's another reason why this is going to be a long one, because I have like quite a few whips. I have like four finished objects. Yeah, three or four. Yeah, quite a few finished objects. I have lots of acquisitions because I was, again, spoiled for my birthday. So we've got a lot to get through. So yeah, it's going to take a while. I was thinking of doing this in 2 parts, but I thought, nah, like if you guys want to watch it the whole way through, you will. If you won't and you want to come back to it, you will. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. And I've been really loving the community that's been growing on this YouTube channel. Like, you know, I started Smash Knits like just kind of on a whim, and to be doing it like, you know, months and months later, and to get all of this great feedback and have this wonderful community that's been supporting me, I'm, you know, super grateful, especially now that we're over like 200 subscribers now. Like, you know, I only feel like I only did the giveaway, you know, announced the giveaway not very long ago, and we for 100 subscribers, and here we are with 200 plus. So I just want to thank everyone for supporting me. It's just been so nice, and I never expected to be, you know, welcomed in so much, because I am new and I wasn't too sure if anyone would even give a shit about what I say, but apparently enough people do to want to watch this. So I just want to, you know, express my gratitude and thank all of you so much. And, you know, a way that I have wanted to do that is this giveaway, but unfortunately the last giveaway winner didn't claim their prize, so I had to redraw for a new one. And so that's who I'm going to announce now. So the new winner of the giveaway is Kate Price 3589, and they'll be winning the 2 skeins of Hedgehog Fibres, the project bag, and the accessories that go with it. All of the information will be down below on how to contact me, and I'm happy to ship that out to you lickety split, because it's just sitting there. You can kind of see it. It's like right behind me. where I keep all of the beanies that I don't wear. And I've been kind of just like peeking in there because the colorway Sugar is so beautiful. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tempted. Like, this person doesn't want it, but I want it. But no, I'm going to do the right thing. Redraw, give it to someone. And I'm excited for them to enjoy it. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping at the start. So the first things I'm going to talk about are my finished objects, then I'm going to go into my whips, and then at the end I'm going to keep all of the acquisitions towards the end, because not everyone, vibes the acquisitions, but I do like that part of the video. So I'm going to start with all of my finished objects and then go into the whips. Now, I will be looking down at my notes because I'm trying to be more thoughtful and more like think this out a bit better. I feel like a lot of the time I'm quick to get all the information out there and then I don't actually go into in depth like about the yarn. I just like, this is the yarn I'm using, but I don't really talk about, my experience with it. So I've written down a bunch of notes, but like always, all of the information will be linked down below with all of the links and everything. So you shouldn't have to worry if you don't have to scroll back or anything like that. It'll all be down below. But if I'm looking down, that's why. So this is my Stella quilt cushion. This is a pattern by Laura Penrose from Penrose Knits. She is based in the UK and she does the most fantastic, gorgeous quilt cushion patterns. So this is a entirely like knit in garter stitch cushion cover that is constructed by knitting short row squares. So each one of these squares is done with short rows to create the look of a quilted cushion. This is a pattern that can suit both DK weight and worsted weight yarn, and then there's two motifs that you can do in it. There's this one, which is like a 8-pointed star, and then there is another one that I think is 8-pointed or 10-pointed, but it has like 10 triangles in it, whereas this one has 16 triangles, color triangles. Each of these squares I think is designed to use about 10 grams of DK weight yarn. And in her design, she does like each of these little kind of diamond patterns in a different color, but I decided to do them kind of alternating and get this gorgeous kind of multicolored star. I'll go through the yarn that I used for this. I used this one's Sandnes Garn Double Sunday in that orange feeling. This one is KnitPicks Palette in Bluebell. This one is Millpost Merino DK in the color green. And then this gorgeous pink one is the Woolen Works DK Merino in the color San Fran Flowers. Yes. So, and then the base is Four Seasons Pure Wool and White. So all of these I had existing and I used like scraps to make this up. And then I bought the Pure White Season Wool from Spotlight. You'll see that this cushion is massive. It is huge. And that is because I didn't gauge swatch. So what she has you do is you start off knitting one of these plain white squares and then you measure it to determine whether you're on gauge. I did that and I measured it and my gauge was like way off. I think it's meant to be like 4 inches by 4 inches or something, this first square, and mine was way more than that. Mine was like 5 inches by 5 inches. And I would just, instead of, maybe going down a needle size, because you knit this with a 4mm needle. If you're doing the DK version, it's 5mm. If you're doing the worsted, I just decided to just keep on knitting and I was like, it's a cushion cover. It won't matter too much, but it does matter. So I just kept knitting and using the 4mm needle and being off gauge. And my idea was that I was just like, I'll just get a bigger cushion insert, which is what I end up doing. If you are on gauge and making this, the cushion insert is like a 50-inch cushion insert. No, 50-inch? Oh my God. 50-centimeter cushion insert. And that you can like get from IKEA or whatever. But this is I've got a 65-inch cushion insert in this. I would say that is probably too big for this cushion, to be completely honest. You can kind of see that's a little malformed. that it's not exactly like the shape of a square. I really do wish I had have gone, like, being able to get a 60-inch cushion cover, and I might end up doing that. But part of me is too lazy to like unsew the sewn bind off, because there are two ways that you can do this. One way is that you just like sew up the edge. The another way is that you can create a flap. So she has like both of those options in the pattern so that you can do that. But I decided that I was just going to sew it up because I'm lazy. But now I'm kind of regretting that, because I think I want to ultimately change the cushion cover out of like change the cushion insert, because it is a bit big. It is very comfy though and squishy, and I do really like that. But it's a bit, you can see it's kind of like it's a bit big for it, and it is a bit stretched out because the front is slightly smaller than the back, which is all garter. And because I think what happened is, I'm just putting that down because it's just so heavy. Because I think what happened is the pure wool that I bought from Spotlight, it's more kind of like a DK weight, almost, a heavy DK, almost light worsted weight. So with the true DKs of the other yarn, it just made the back panel really big, and that makes the front just a bit taut. So yeah, maybe going down the cushion insert would be recommended. But other than that, that's like nothing to do with the pattern. To talk about the actual pattern, I really, really love this pattern. When you first get it, it does seem a little bit overwhelming because there is just so much in it. But once you read through it, she's just so methodical. Laura's so methodical in the way that she writes it, and it's very clear on what you should do, because each of the squares aren't knit exactly the same way, because you have to create that triangle, the colored triangles, so that you can create the motif. So she's got like 4 different kind of square types in there, and then she has like a chart with like notations. It's all marked up so that it can tell you which direction you should start knitting or which direction you should pick up stitches, because there are kind of, it's very flexible, this pattern. There are options for you to knit all the squares individually and then sew them all together, or you can do what she recommends and what's written in the pattern, which is you pick up stitches on one edge of each square or 2 edges so that you can kind of join as you go, and that way you have less ends to weave in at the end and you don't have to like sew up as much. So that's what I ended up doing, and I found that was much easier. There's still a lot of ends to weave in, because you've inherently, if you've got like, I've only, if you're knitting that many squares, you do end up having to like break the yarn and start again. So you're going to have a lot of ends to weave in, but at least you don't have to sew at the end, like the whole thing anyway. It's the same for the back panel. You kind of pick up stitches along 3 sides, and then you leave one edge open, and then that's when you sew it up if you decide to go for that option. So it's very customizable, and I really love how she's written the pattern. 100% would definitely knit this again. One thing that really did surprise me actually about this pattern was that I thought it wasn't going to take that long to actually knit. You look at a cushion cover and you compare that to a jumper and you're like, oh, it actually, it's going to take like 2 weeks. This took me way longer than 2 weeks to knit. Granted, I wasn't like monogamous with it and I did put it down for a while, but it still took a lot longer to knit than I thought it would. So just keep this in mind. This isn't exactly like a really speedy knit. It's nothing like it's not like a pair of socks or like a pair of fingerless mittens. Like it is, it does take a bit of time. I would say it would probably take just under depending on what size, I guess, jumper you knit, I would say it probably takes almost the same time as like a sweater if you're knitting a smaller size, for example. All of the yarn I've kind of used before, and it's all very soft. The pure wool that I got from Spotlight isn't as soft as the others, but again, this is like nothing that's coming into contact with my skin necessarily. It's just a cushion. So I wasn't really that fussed about using like the most expensive yarn, because I knew it was just going to be a cushion cover at the end of the day. But I think next time I definitely want to knit this again, but I want to do the other motif, and I really want to get an advent calendar because I've never done that. And like every single time I want to get an advent calendar, it's like they do like the pre-orders around Christmas or like people's birthdays. So I'm like, oh, I don't really want to spend $350 on an advent calendar. But then when everyone gets them in Christmas, I'm like, oh, I wish I got an advent calendar. But yeah, hopefully this year I can find one that I like so that I can do that, because I There's so many good ones. And I'm pretty sure actually, sorry, I'm talking really fast. I'm pretty sure that there are, that she's coming out with a blanket pattern with the same motifs as the Stella quilt cushion. So keep an eye out for that. I would love to knit a blanket that would kind of match that, but you know, blankets are big projects, and I don't know if I want to take on something like that yet. So we'll see. The next finished object that I want to talk about is actually another Laura Penrose pattern. I feel like, I don't know if everyone does this, but I feel like, you know, tell me if this is the same for you, but I feel like I go through phases where I knit a lot of designs from the same knitwear designer. I kind of like binge their patterns, or like I'm really obsessed with them, and I go through like a Laura Penrose phase. I think I'm going to be also like heading into a Sari Nordland phase, and you know, you go through these phases where you just like, the pattern designer is the knitwear designer, is coming out with all this stuff that you like, and you're like, oh yes, I'm going to knit that. I don't know if it's just me. I feel like I go through that where I just like obsess over one designer for a period of time, and then it comes in phases with others. I'm not too sure. Let me know if it's the same for you. I feel like we all have our, you know, I feel like Petite Knit has obviously had her moment for a while, but I feel like a lot of people are doing the same thing where they're like consistently knitting like either Jessie May Designs or Sari Nordland or Laura Penrose. Like I feel like these big names in the knitwear designing like world, yeah, like Ozetta and things like that. I feel like, you know, you kind of like binge their designs. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's the way I would describe it. I'm not sure. Anyway, so what I wanted to talk about before I got on a tangent was these school run mittens by Laura Penrose. So these are a gorgeous fingerless mitten pattern with a little picot edge. They're really gorgeous. She released the pattern years ago, and I originally saw Rebecca from the Crowbear knit them, and she said they were really quick knit. They didn't use much yarn, and they were really satisfying and a great gift knit. So ever since I saw that a few years ago, literally like that podcast was released, like at least a year ago, I've just been wanting to knit them. They've been on my want to knit list. And I have a friend called Brie who her birthday had recently passed, and I wanted to knit her something for it. So I thought I would knit her some fingerless gloves because she loves fingerless gloves. And I knit them in the combination of these two yarns. So the top one is Patons Dreamtime Merino in the color Natural, 2949, and the bottom one is the Heirloom Alpaca 4-ply in the color Nougat, which is 6981. So this one here is 100% merino wool, and this one is alpaca. You would have seen in my previous email, lol, my previous podcast, that I had started a glove using just the alpaca, didn't like it, and decided to combine the alpaca and merino together to get more of a even stitch tension. So the school run mittens are knit using 4-ply, but for the main hand, they're knit using 2 strands of fingering held together, and then the cuffs on like the thumb and the fingers and around the wrist are all just single 4-ply held single. So I'll insert pictures of the finished objects and how they looked, because obviously I don't have them anymore because it's her birthday, so I gave them to her, but I will insert pictures so that you can see what they look like. And I thought they turned out really, really well. I feel like the main portion of the glove had the lovely soft like fluffiness of the alpaca, and the rest had the nice kind of smoothness and even stitch definition from the merino. And although these are kind of similar beigey colors, but they're a little bit like, this one's obviously more pink, this one's more yellow toned. I think blended together they worked really well. And just to tie it all together a little bit more, I used the Dreamtime Merino to do some lazy daisy embroidering on the gloves, which I think made it really, really sweet, because I was really playing into like the femininity of the gloves with the picot edge. I thought little flowers would be just so darling. I thought it'd be so cute. So I just wanted them to be really delicate and lovely, and something that, you know, when you see, you're like, oh wow, these are special and made with love. So that's why I thought I'd add a little feminine touch. I was thinking of doing like a little embroidery, like, you know, with a bee or something, but I've never embroidered before. So me doing a lazy daisy was, you know, challenge enough. Like the amount of times I had to like unpick it and redo it was too many times, to be honest. And I'm actually surprised that I managed to do it in the end, because there were parts where I was like, I'm giving up. But I got it in the end, and you'll see in the pictures. But they're great. They're really good. I'm making a pair for myself as well, and some fingering, some hand-dyed, like variegated yarn. Haven't finished them, but I really, really like them. They're super quick to knit up. Like I knit, I think, you know, 3 gloves. I would say 2 gloves. Like a pair takes a week easily. Like if you have like a spare day off, or like a weekend free, you could definitely knit them in a weekend. Yeah, they're a really great last minute gift knit, and they really do use hardly any yarn. Like each of these balls are 50 grams each, and I probably used half of each. So I think like 50 grams of fingering, if you're doing it in one color, for example, would be more than enough to make 2 pairs. Yeah, they're super great. And because you can kind of play with the cuffs a bit, like do them in the contrasting color, if you do have a really small amount of yarn that you just want to like fingering, because I know a lot of people have like we always have fingering around. Like if you knit socks, you will always have some spare fingering weight yarn around. Be able to do contrast cuffs and just use those leftovers is really, really handy. I know everyone's getting into kind of not buying as much yarn and using up their scrap yarn and using up their existing stash. So I think those are really great if you've got smaller quantities of fingering weight. I would definitely recommend that pattern. So, and again, in classic Laura Penrose fashion, it's written out really clearly. The directions are really simple to follow. The way that you do the picot edge is, I've never done one until now, but yeah, you knit the cuffs all in like in the fingering, and then you fold it over and sew it down. She has instructions to kind of pick up stitches to attach the folded cuff, but I found sewing it in was just a lot easier for me because the alpaca was just a bit too fluffy. I couldn't properly see. But you just have to remember, if you are sewing it down, and she notes this in there, is to do it really loosely or it's going to like not be very stretchy. But yeah, like I think I used 2.5 millimeter needles for all the cuffs, and then 3.5 millimeter needles for the where like the actual like body of the hand, palm or whatever, where you held the fingering double. Those are, yeah, really simple, really easy, but it's one of those patterns where you don't put in a lot of effort, but the attention to detail that Laura puts into the pattern and the design makes it look like you've actually put a lot more effort into it than you have. So those are my favorite kind of patterns, where you don't have to do much, but it looks like you did a lot. Alrighty, 2 more finished objects to go. The next ones I want to show you are the basic sock number 2, the Afterthought heel by Summer Lee Design Co. So these are a design actually out of her latest book, The Sock Project, which I've actually got here and I'll show you later in my acquisitions. But these are just a kind of a plain vanilla sock with contrasting cuff, heel and toe, and the heel is an Afterthought heel. So I had never knit an Afterthought heel before, but I've got the book and I've been inspired to try all the different heel types and all the different designs. I've been really kind of I kind of put sock knitting on the back burner a bit. I just have been really focused on doing kind of bigger projects, like my cushion and my stick season sweater and stuff like that. So I haven't really been focusing on doing socks too much, but because I had pre-ordered the Sock Project by Summer Lee a month ago or so, just over a month ago, ever since then I've just been like really wanting to get back into socks. So I ended up picking some beautiful sock yarn up at Little Woolies, which is a yarn store in Hastings, which is about an hour out of Melbourne. and I was really inspired to knit some gorgeous socks, and here they are. I love them. So the yarn I used for these is the Cascade Yarns Heritage Sock in Lilac 5614, which is the main body of the sock that you can see, that beautiful kind of purpley pink. It almost looks very pink, but it is like more a purpley pink. And then the contrast, I used Hedgehog Fibres Sock Minis, and this is in the color Mulberry. So that's that gorgeous multicolored kind of purpley base, and then it's got all these amazing greens and oranges and pinks. So that's what I use for the sock yarn, and I've got like quite a lot left. So this is how much left. This is about like 55 grams left of the Cascade, and then I've got about this much, I don't know how much that is, but a tiny bit left of the Hedgehog Fibres. So the Cascade is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, and you get 400 meters in 100 grams. And then the little Hedgehog Fibres Sock Mini, they are 20 grams, and you get about 80 meters, and that's 90% superwash merino and 10% nylon. So the ratio to nylon to superwash is very different in these two, and that did concern me because I was worried that maybe the Hedgehog Fibres was a little bit too, the nylon content was low, so I was like, oh, is this a good idea to use it on the high like friction points? But I'm like, that's the whole point of minis, right, is to do like the contrasting parts of the sock. So I thought, worst comes to worst, I can just graft it or reknit it or whatever. So really love these colors, really happy with the combination. The Cascade is super soft as well, so I should probably get into the actual sock design. But if you've never done an Afterthought heel before, the way that it works is that you cast on at the cuff, you knit like a big tube, you finish the toe, and then what you do is you pick up stitches along 2 rows in the middle. You pick up stitches like here and here. You cut in between those 2 rows of stitches that you picked up, and then you knit exactly pretty much what you've done on the toe, the decreases on the toe, on the heel, and that's how you get the Afterthought heel. I had never, like I said before, I had never done this before. I had never knit an Afterthought heel, but I really did like how it looks when you're doing contrasting heel, because of the shape of it and because of that clean kind of right angle that it produces. I have always knit a slip stitch heel with like a gusset and heel flap. I like the way that foot like fits on my foot. It's what I learned how to do, so I'm really used to doing it that way. But I wanted to, be a bit more adventurous, so I decided to try that. So the first time I did it was just a disaster, like a major disaster. It was just so stressful, and John was downstairs and he was trying to study, and I was just sitting there just like freaking out and just being like, oh my God, what have I done? Because instead of picking up stitches like in the same row, I picked up like half the stitches in the row below and half above. I ended up, when I was like trying to cut them, I cut too many stitches, and it just started like unraveling everywhere. I have these like safety scissors that I use as my sewing scissors, like my knitting scissors, and they're blunt on the ends. So I just, because they're so blunt and clunky, I just like snipped and just like snipped way too much, and it was just drop stitches everywhere. There was loose ends everywhere. It was very dramatic for a sock. Like, I was very stressed at the time, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I've stuffed it up. Oh, why there's so many loose threads? How am I ever going to recover? It was very dramatic, but I learnt my lesson. The first time I did it, I picked up stitches with on the 2 rows with double pointed needles. I felt like that was too clunky, and it was almost too hard, even though like scissors were blunt and like a bit chunky, I still felt it like really hard to get in there and snip the correct stitch. So what I ended up doing on the second one was I ended up just getting a needle and like a spare sock yarn and picking up the stitches with that instead of the needles on both the top and bottom row. And then I used embroidery scissors, these gorgeous little embroidery scissors that I got for my birthday. And they were able to really get in there and give a good, like, you know, accurate snip. So I only snipped the stitch that I needed to rather than going crazy and just chopping and snipping and destroying the sock. So the second time was a lot easier. It was a lot breezier, and obviously, they look good. These did knit up quite quickly because I did knit quite a short leg, and that was intentional. I didn't mean it to be this short, but I definitely wanted something that was kind of more ankle length, not a shorty, but just something that didn't have as much length on the leg, because I feel like when they're too long, I stretch them out and then they like crunch up after a few wears and they just don't look as nice. So I was like, keeping it around the ankle might make it look a bit more taut and neat for a longer period of time. These are both yarns that I haven't used before, so I don't really know what my gauge was. I feel like the Cascade is kind of a very, like, almost a light fingering. It is very, it's very, like, the stitches are very small, and you can kind of see the difference between the Cascade and how big the stitches are and the Hedgehog Fibres. The Hedgehog Fibres is definitely a heavier weight than the Cascade. So because of that, my toe and heel were a bit longer than they should have been. And that meant that the overall foot was a bit longer. I could have mitigated that if I had measured my toe after I had knit it, but I didn't, and I just decided to knit the heel where I had originally put the marker to do so. Looking back at it, I wish I had have kind of started a bit further down the foot because it is very long. And I think it's like looks even stranger because the leg is long. The leg is not long, but they still fit all right. And I think, I don't know if this happens with you, but a lot of my socks, once they start to be worn a lot and they get a bit felted, especially if they're in boots, they do kind of tend to shrink a bit. So maybe it might be a blessing in disguise in the end. But overall, it was a very simple sock pattern. So the pattern was easy to follow. She had really good pictures in the book of how to execute the Afterthought heel. And the yarn I really love. It's super soft. I haven't worn these too much, so I can't comment on how like the longevity or how the wear is with these yarns, but I really, really like them. I think they're gorgeous and they're super soft, and I'm very much interested in using more of the Cascade Heritage because they have a really good range of colours and it's relatively affordable. I think it cost me about $21, I think, for the 100 grams. And as you can see, I've got quite a lot, like enough to make another pair of socks. Like if I was doing like shorter socks like these ones and doing contrasting heels, or use this in color work for others, or stripy socks or whatever, I definitely have quite a bit left over. So I think that's really good value for like the quality and the softness that you're getting. And for both of these socks, I used 2.5mm needles. The last finished object that I'm going to talk about today is my DK Weight vanilla socks by the Crazy Sock Lady. These are just a plain and simple vanilla sock. They've got a slip stitch heel with like a heel flap and gusset. It's got 2x2 ribbing on the cuff, and then you've got your normal kind of decrease toe. They're really super simple, easy, quick knit, and I've knit them in this beautiful colorway by Woolen Works. This is Me as a Bird in the DK Merino. The DK Merino is 100% superwash merino. It doesn't have any nylon in it, so it's not designed necessarily to be made into socks, but I just had a random one skein that I really wasn't going to do much with. I couldn't think of a beanie or anything that I wanted to make with it, so I thought, in the winter time my lounge room gets really cold, so I thought, why not make some nice toasty socks that I can wear on my feet when I'm sitting, when I'm sitting on the couch or watching TV or reading. They're not going to be used in boots or anything like that, so they're not going to be like, something I'm going to be trotting around in. So I wasn't really too worried about them seeing a lot of friction because I'm going to be just wearing them at home. One skein of the DK Merino by Will & Works is 100 grams and you get 225 meters in that 100 grams. This is an older base. I believe she has a new base now that has about 250 meters in it, but I bought this quite a while ago when she had like a crafternoon, so she had them on sale and I think I picked them up then. It's very, very soft because it is superwash merino and the colors are really gorgeous. I knit this sock in a 3.5 millimeter needle, and yeah, it's just like not really much to talk about. Like, it's a very easy pattern. It's very quick knit. I knit one of these in one day and then the other one took me bloody 6 months. And I have a really bad habit of doing this where I will knit one sock and then months later I will knit the other one. And that doesn't seem like much of a problem because yeah, in the end I am getting like a pair of socks, but the issue is that depending on how I'm feeling and depending on what I'm knitting on at the time, my tension changes a lot. So this is the one that I knit first, where I must have been in a really relaxed mood because my tension is very loose, versus the one that I knit recently, which you can tell I've been a bit more stressed. So when I blocked these, I really was surprised at how different they are. Like, you would think that I've knit these on 2 different needles with 2 different yarns, but I haven't. I have knit these, in fact, together. On the exact same yarn, exact same needle, but just because they're like months apart, my tension has really changed. So that's the only kind of bad thing about these socks that I'm not 100% happy with, is that the tension is just so loose in one of these socks. But I just don't feel like it's worth reknitting. Even though it would only take me a day, I feel like, well, like I'm just going to be wearing these at home. They're not going to be going out. Do they have to be perfect? No. Is one of my feet bigger than the other? Yes. So I just use the big one on the big foot and the small one on the small foot. So it all works out in the end. But yeah, I love these. Cozy, just comfy, lovely socks just for home. Now we are in the whips portion of the video. This is just going to be a really quick update on one of my whips, and then I've got 2 new whips that you haven't seen before. So the first one I've got in this Patil Knits bag that you've seen before. This is my Stick Season sweater by Creya Bayer. If you haven't watched any of my previous podcasts, this is a textured yoke sweater made in DK weight, and I'm knitting it in this beautiful green color that is the Athena Athens DK in the color Gentleman's Moss. So this is more just an update because I have reached the ribbing on the bottom. I really haven't done much of this jumper lately. I feel like I binged it, got all the way through the body, and then I've just kind of gotten to the ribbing on the bottom and have been a bit lazy. It's 2x2 ribbing, so super easy to do, and I have in fact stopped in the middle of the row, so please don't hate me, but I think it's coming along well. I knit this to exactly the length that is recommended in the pattern, and I find that it is a little bit cropped. Like, it does kind of, the split hem, which I've modified myself, does kind of hit right at where my waist goes in. So I might end up knitting the ribbing a bit longer to kind of give it a bit more length, but not sacrifice kind of that nice shaping that the split hem will give. So like I said, this is knit in the Isle of Athena's DK in Gentleman's Moss. It's 100% merino wool, and you get 230 meters in 115 grams. And right away, obviously, the first thing that you notice about the yarn is this gorgeous, gorgeous green color. This is really hard to catch on camera, just how like luminous, I don't know if that's the right word, but it like truly glows, because it's kind of like there's greens and there is kind of yellow in there. It's really hard to catch on camera because it is such a stunning color. And the second thing you notice about it is it's extraordinarily soft. Like the 100% superwash merino is incredibly soft. Like it's beautiful. Even the textured part of it feels even more soft somehow. It's really stunning. So everybody who I show this to, the first thing that they go is, wow, that yarn, they feel it. It's so gorgeous. I feel like this is something that is very luxurious for me, especially because I don't usually make full garments out of hand-dyed yarn. This is something definitely very special for me. If you haven't seen my last podcast episode, I'll just quickly show you a few of the details, such as that lovely ribbing. There is also ribbing down the sides. And one of the things that I was a bit concerned about was, because the split hem is not part of the pattern, it is a modification that I've decided to add in. I was worried that these lovely ribbing sections that go down the side of the body wouldn't translate well when splitting the hem. But even though she's not intentionally designed it, it actually works really well. And you can see there that the ribbing just flows perfectly into the split hem. So easy. And if you've never done a split hem before, you literally just start knitting flat as soon as you get halfway. That's literally it. Very, very easy. I've decided to, slip the first stitch of every row so that I get a cleaner edge on the inside. But I've made things before, like my Friday slipover, where I didn't do that and it was still fine. Like nobody is looking that close to your knitting anyway. Well, that's not always true. There is one person I do know who's got like an eagle eye for knitting. So if you do have a mistake, she'll find it. But I think that's a very good skill to have. Even though sometimes you're like, oh, I was trying to hide that. But yeah, like that's just a quick update. I really need to, buckle down and finish this because I am so close. And I know things like the ribbing will only take a few days and the sleeves will only take, like about a week. So I don't know why I'm procrastinating it so much to do. I think I've just been so distracted by all the new shiny pretty things that I got for my birthday that I just haven't been really concentrating on it for some reason, which is bad, because I always think like, oh, I could really, like, I can get out sweaters in probably a month, but it ends up taking me 2 months because I'm just not good at being a monogamous knitter. I try, but I just get bored and then I want to try something else. So I don't know if it's the same. Tell me, like, how do people stay monogamous with their knitting? Like, does anyone have any advice on how to, keep engaged when you're doing things like the body? Because I find the yoke is the most fun part, especially if it's textured. Like, when you get to the sleeves and the body and there's no texture, it's just stuck in it. Like, does anyone have any tips on how to, like, make it more interesting? Or, like, motivate yourself to do it? Ugh. I feel like I so procrastinate with it. Also, just note that I'm using 3.5mm needles for the body and 3.25mm needles for the ribbing. This is what was recommended in the pattern. I got gauge when I did my gauge swatches, so I didn't have to change needle size, which is nice because I'm usually always having to go down needle sizes because my gauge is usually always big. So the next whip I have is in another Patil Knits bag. I love these project bags. They're so cute, especially this one. This is part of her latest range, and this is in the design The Hidden Platypus. I'll go into a bit more depth in a sec when I go through my acquisitions because this is new. And what is inside it is a new whip as well. This is something that's kind of like an unexpected cast on. I have a friend who has a 3-year-old, and I always talk about, like, actually she has 2 sons. I always talk about knitting her something or knitting her kids something, and I haven't gotten around doing it, but I've always talked about it, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to cast on. I'm going to do it, even though it's not like cold yet. I know by the time I finish this, it probably will start to get cold. So I thought, you know what, it would be fun to make something small but intricate, and that's why I've decided to cast on the Storm Sweater Junior by Petite Knit. This is a gorgeous all over textured jumper with knits and pearls to create all of the texture. I am knitting this in the Rosarius for Benjamim in the color Blue Denim, which is color 16, and it's a DK weight. So the pattern is for DK weight. And I just think this is absolutely stunning. I think this is so cute. I love all of the knit and purl details. I love the color. It's been such a fun knit to do. It's really engaging, but it's not, because it's not a huge size, it doesn't feel like such a chore when you're doing all of the pattern work. All of this is pretty much charted. So when you're knitting this, you are having to read charts. There isn't really much written instructions, but the charts are pretty straightforward. She does explain it. So you know, it's laid out very simply. The yarn I'm using is 50% acrylic and 50% polyamide. It's super soft. I've used Benjamim before. I've used it in pink for another like toddler baby jumper, and I've used it for my anchor tee actually in the grey colour. So it's so soft. So I knew that if I was going to make something for my friend for her 3-year-old, this would be the yarn that I go with. And it's a really good value for money actually, because in 100 grams you get 250 meters of DK, which I think is really great. And the price point is low as well. I got it from Lumen Spindle. She has a really great colour selection of this. Yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted to knit the Storm Sweater Junior is because I loved the look of it when it first came out in the adult size, but because it's not a size inclusive pattern in the adult size, I chose not to knit it. So that's why I'm knitting the kids version instead. It's just really gorgeous. And I think it's really sweet and special. And even though it kind of looks a little bit big now, even if they grow into it, I think it'll be nice. So I'm knitting it in 4mm needles for the body and 3.5mm needles for all of the ribbing. I actually, for the first time ever, my gauge was too small. So I actually was thinking about going up in needle size, but I didn't like how that would look. I really liked the density of the stitches on those particular needle sizes. So instead I decided to go up a couple of sizes in the pattern and knit that. So where I should have been knitting a 2, like the size 2 to 3, I'm actually knitting the size 4 to 5. But because my gauge is small, it should come up around about the measurements that are for a 3-year-old. Yeah, it's a great pattern. It's really fun. I love the yarn. I'm very excited to see this like when it's all finished, because I think it'll be so adorable. And some people might be like, oh, that's a bit extravagant for a 3-year-old, like they're probably going to grow out of it so quickly. I don't care. I think it's so cute. Like it's such a quick knit that I don't really think it would be like a waste of time to do it. And now that I've got the pattern, I'm gonna like knit it if I have kids or if my friends have kids and stuff like that. So it's not like I don't mind making intricate stuff for little kids. I know people are like, oh, it's, you know, they're going to grow out of it, but so what? I think it's cute. If it's something special for the time, I think it's fine. The last whip that I'm currently working on is something that I've just recently cast on. This is the Colorblocked ribbed sock by Summer Lee out of her new book, The Sock Project. And I'm knitting this in Laine du Nord sock. I've lost the like card for this, like the information for it, so I will link it down below as best as I can. So I can't give too much details in terms of the content, stuff like that. I'm pretty sure like this is definitely nylon and wool, but I just don't know the percentages. I will try and include all of that down below. But it's this faded sock. It like fades into the different colors, and it's about 100 grams, and you get, I think, approximately 400 meters or 350 around about. But the pattern is just like a simple kind of 2x2 rib with a slip stitch heel. In the book, she has it like actually color blocked, so each kind of section is a different color, but I just wanted a simple 2x2 rib pattern, and I just wanted it all in this variegated color, and I think it looks really beautiful. There's like pinks in there, yellows, blues, greens. It's really fantastic. Yeah, I love the color, and I haven't knit myself any ribbed socks before, so I'm doing this a bit longer because I know it's gonna be tight around my leg, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Like, it's just a simple rib sock. You can't really, not much to talk about, but I will note that this yarn isn't as soft as like your normal kind of indie dyed superwash merino and nylon mix. This is a little bit rougher. Like, it kind of feels like a little bit like linen almost, like the roughness. Like, I would just describe this yarn as dry. Like, it feels dry, and I'm hoping that when I block these, it'll bloom really nicely, because it just kind of feels like the yarn's a bit dehydrated. But I love the color so much that it doesn't bother me for now, but I just do feel it when I'm knitting, because I hold my yarn over my finger, that it does get a bit rough. That's just one thing that I've noticed about this yarn. But other than that, I'm really enjoying it. It's simple knit, really not much to talk about it, and I'm knitting on my my classic 2.5mm circular needles like I always do. I gotta be quick. Even though I've been talking really quickly throughout this whole thing anyway, I've got to be even quicker, because for both reasons, my camera is about to die, and 2, I have to go to a footy game in about like half an hour. So the first, this is all the acquisitions that I've got, and the first thing I'm going to talk about is the Sock Project by Summer Lee. I pre-ordered this book, and I am so glad I did. I have never been happier with a purchase, I think, in my entire life. This is the Sock Project by Summer Lee, or Summer Lee Design Co., as she's known on Ravelry, and this is her first ever like sock pattern book she's ever released. It's got 25 patterns in it. It's got 5 heel types, and it's just like got a myriad of chapters about all different types of socks. So she's got like ribbing and stripes and textured socks and lace socks and, you know, slip stitch and pearl textured socks and color work, you know, everything that you could need in a sock book she has. It's so fantastic. And what really sold me on getting this book was I was watching her podcast, which is how I found out about it. And if you haven't seen her podcast, she is so funny. She's so entertaining to watch, and she's super helpful. I would 100% recommend going and watching her podcast, because she's just such a character, and I love it. But like, such a genuine character. She's just really funny and kind of dorky and goofy, and I feel like that's what I'm like in most of my life. So I feel like she's just super relatable and easy, and it's just like not who I was picturing would be behind Summer Lee Designs. Like, I don't know why, but she was not who I thought she was, and she just seemed like a really cool person. So when she was, you know, talking about her book and describing about what it's about, one thing that she said she was surprised about was that she uses it a lot as a reference on how to do certain techniques. And that really appealed to me as someone who, you know, I've knit quite a few socks, but I have been very much, you know, hesitant to try new things. Like, I haven't really done much color works, and I haven't really done stripes or anything like that. So the fact that she kind of described this as a reference where she teaches you how to do like jogless stripes and teaches you how to like weave in lots of ends easily. She teaches you how to do like an afterthought heel or fade socks together, like colors together. All these like really valuable tips and tricks that I thought, yeah, that's fantastic. That's kind of what I want. I want something with like quite a lot of designs, but I also want something that's going to be able to like be used a lot. Even if I'm like am an experienced sock knitter where I like can reference it for different techniques. So I think she's really put a lot of effort and care into this book, and going through it, you can really tell she's done a fantastic job. Like she's done all the photography herself, and her personality just like flies out of the pages. Like when you're reading this and going through it and looking at the designs and how she describes everything, like it's just, you can tell that it's like her whole soul is in this. And she's just thought it out so well. So I have knit, I have knit the Afterthought heel from it. I'm knitting the rib socks from it. I'm definitely going to be knitting like so many different designs. Like I've got a bunch of sock yarn. I'm going to go crazy. Like especially these ones here, this gorgeous slip stitch heel, and these here kind of look like kind of pressed flower inspired, and these lovely like pearl textured ones. Like there's so many good designs in here, and her color choices are fantastic. Like she's just done a really, really great job. Another thing I want to talk about is she's thought about the design really well. So she's kind of broken up each chapter into the different types, like ribbing, stripes, lace, cables, things like that. But she's also ordered the designs in each chapter from like easiest to hardest in difficulty, which I think is fantastic, because if you're someone who's, you know, who knit a few socks but want to get a bit more adventurous, you can start out going through the chapters and just doing the easiest one and then progress to the harder one. So she's kind of like building up your skills as you go on. I think that's so smart and so thoughtful. I have not seen anyone else, you know, think that out. I couldn't say enough good things about this. Like, oh, it's just so gorgeous. Everything about it is lovely. Like, this has really just kind of re-inspired my love for socks, because I did learn on socks when I first started knitting. Like these ones here, these surf socks I think are gorgeous with the texture. These are fantastic. I'm trying not to show you any of the designs, like any of the actual pattern itself. But these are really gorgeous as well. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I'm so excited to get into these. I'm hoping to knit like all of the socks out of this. And not only does she have fingering weight in there, she also has like 3 DK weight pattern socks as well. So it's so good. And I bought this on Amazon. I pre-ordered this on Amazon for $40. That's $40 Australian, not $40 USD, girl. $40 Australian. That is a damn bargain. Like for the patterns, 25 patterns, all this great tips and ticks, like so informational, and just the thought out design of the book. I think for $40 it's fantastic, and everything just feels so nice and luxe and colorful and so clear. And even though my book has already been chewed on by my cat, yeah, I couldn't be happier with this book. And I took this to the yarn store with me. I took it to Loom and Spindle, which is where I am most Saturdays. And all of the women looked through it there, all of my knitting friends, and all of them were actually so shocked at how good this was. They were like, oh my God, that's like, everyone was saying how awesome it is, how inspired they are, and yeah, they wanting to get their hands on it as well. I'll link it down below, the Amazon link. I know some local stores in Melbourne are getting it, but I don't know if I've heard that they're not getting it till May, because I've heard this like has sold out already. I know it's sold out on Amazon as well. I am so glad I pre-ordered, because to have this book already, I would hate to have waited if I had seen somebody else with it. I'm more than happy to have this. So I would highly recommend this book. If you are, if you're a beginner knitter and you've never knit socks before, I probably wouldn't start here. But if you are, if you knit just like a couple of vanilla socks and you are confident, I would say definitely get this. I've bought books before. I've got pattern books and I really rarely use them. But this one is one that I think is going to be a real staple in a lot of sock knitters' collections. That's bold, but that's what I'm saying. Alrighty, another kind of non-yarn acquisition is my KNITS project bag. This is the Hidden Platypus Drawstring project bag by KNITS, and it's a gorgeous kind of quilted project bag with a lovely handle so that you can, like, you know, knit as you go. It's got just an easy drawstring, and then on the inside it's got 3 pockets. If you can see that. It's got 3 pockets, and it's got a little kind of key ring so that you can attach stitch markers or whatever kind of notions that you want to it. And I think these are about $50, and I love them. They're really good. They're a good medium size. Like, I can fit pretty much like almost a whole sweater in there, or, you know, a medium size whip with all the yarn. Yeah, I just can't say enough good things about them. I will, you know, always be getting more. I'm always keeping an eye out because she always picks the most awesome fabrics, and this one just reminded me of kind of like a groovy lava lamp, very much my style, and with the little platypus on it, it's so cute. So yes, I love these bags. Last kind of non-yarn acquisition, because I've got quite a lot of yarn acquisitions, is some blocking pins. So these were a gift from my boyfriend. These are the Knit Pro blocking pins. And if you are, you know, not familiar with blocking pins, they are essentially just like blocking pins that are in, you know, like a comb form, and they just make it a lot easier rather than using individual pins to block out your knits on blocking mats when you finish your objects. So not really much to say about them, but they come in, they've got like 2 different sizes. They've got 4 sets of the smaller ones, and then the rest are just the larger ones. And I really like blocking pins. I've wanted these for ages. I've been using individual pins, and they're fine, but sometimes it's just hard to get the right shape when you're using individual pins, and it kind of means that some of the areas end up a little bit more pointy than you want rather than smooth and straight. They are not a necessity by any means. If you're a knitter, you do not need blocking comb pins like this. This is just something that I've been wanting and makes my knitting life a little bit easier, which is why I asked John to get them for me for my birthday. So I think I'm going to have to come back and film the rest of the yarn acquisitions because there's quite a lot to get through, and I do really have to go. So yes, I will be back in a little bit, but in your time, it'll be mere seconds. Okay, so we're back. We just went to John's little brother's football game, so it's now like the evening, whereas I was filming more around lunchtime before, so if the lighting is a bit different, I'm sorry. That's just how it is. I didn't have enough time. Like, this is, like I said before, this is just inherently a long one because there's just a lot to show you. So if it looks a bit odd, a bit different, that's why. Alrighty, so to get into the acquisitions, the first one I want to talk about is the Cleckheaton Midlands Merino. So I've had my eye on this for quite a while. As soon as Andrea got it in at Loom and Spindle, I just love the colours so much, and I desperately wanted them, but I just didn't have any plan in mind, and I knew I wanted to make a sweater quantities worth. So these are 100% merino wool. They come in 50-gram balls, and you get 92 meters in a ball. They come in 2 colors. Well, actually, they come in lots of colors, but I got them, in 2 colors. The top one here is Heathland 8811, and the bottom one is Pink Granite 8810. And I just think they're so beautiful. This is like very similar to the Cascade in Lilac that I had before that I've used for my sock. It's kind of that almost identical shade, and it's this beautiful kind of lavender lilac-y color. It's pinky but cool toned. It's really beautiful. It's like that mix in between like a cool tone pink and a light lavender. And it's so soft, like unbelievably squishy and soft. And then this kind of has, the Heathland kind of has that same undertone of light pink. Like it's slightly, I don't know if you can see in the camera, but you can kind of see it's slightly heathered. So it's got a mix of more pinky purples and then more kind of cool tone purples. It's just stunning. I'm just in love with these, and my plan is to knit a Colourwork sweater with them. It's 8-ply, so I'm sure I'll find something. I was thinking about the Rue sweater by the Creabea or Rebecca Clow, and like the design of that one is that the main colour transitions from dark to light, the way that the Colourwork works. I'll put a photo up so you can see, and I just thought this would be so divine, because one of the sample pictures of one of the test knitters kind of had a similar colour scheme, and I really liked that. So I'm really hoping to make my first Colourwork sweater out of this, and I was very grateful to be gifted this by my lovely partner John. He got me heaps, so I think I've got about 10 of these and 9 of these, because I kind of told him like that's what I really wanted to do, so I was able to tell him like the quantities that I wanted. And if you're wondering like how he got it so right, is because we ended up going into Loom and Spindle and shopping together for my birthday, because I feel like I'm just so particular about yarn. I don't want people to I feel a bit like awkward if someone gets me something that I wouldn't particularly use, so I'd rather because John and I have been together so long, I can easily say oh, we'll do it together, so that you don't end up picking something that I probably won't knit. But I'm in love and I cannot wait to cast this on, but I'm trying to get through the rest of my whips before I cast on a Colourwork sweater, because I know that will be a big project. This is the next one that I've got. This is the Patons Sierra Chunky in the colour Gold Rush, which is 3191, and it's this beautiful pastel multicolour rainbow. This is a chunky yarn that is 80% acrylic and 20% wool, and you get 150 grams per ball, and it is 150 meters, so like a meter per gram. Sorry, my cat's just playing with something down there, probably a coaster. And I usually don't gravitate too much towards acrylic yarns, but I saw this. I saw Andrea make a scarf with it, and I just died over the colour, and I thought it was really gorgeous. And I've been wanting to kind of make something that is a little bit more bulky, but I feel like bulky yarn can be quite expensive, but this wasn't too bad because it is majority of acrylic, and it's actually really soft, and it's kind of got I don't know if you can see a slight halo to it. So I thought, this would be kind of a perfect excuse to get some chunky yarn, again gifted from John. I don't know what pattern. I don't really have any pattern in mind. I was thinking a vest, or maybe just a normal raglan jumper. I was even thinking maybe I would maybe try and self-draft something myself, not write a pattern or anything, but just kind of see where it takes me, because it's chunky yarn. I feel like it's less of a, pain if I have to rip it back for some sort of reason. So that's kind of what I've got plans with this. And I love it. I've got 6 balls of it, which is about 900 meters. So I think that should be enough to make a crop jumper or, a vest and some accessories or something like that. But it's gorgeous. I've already knit up a swatch actually, just to kind of see what it looks like, how many, this isn't blocked. But this is on 8mm needles. I think the actual manufacturer recommends 9, but I'm a looser knitter. And yeah, I really like it. I love how the stitches look. I love how chunky it is. I think this will, if I knit it into a jumper, it's just going to be something that is easy to throw on in the mornings and just relax in. It's going to be a comfy, relaxed kind of jumper. Another one from John is the Rosarius for Marion. This is in the colour 11, and it's this gorgeous kind of tealy, limey colour that has little speckles of kind of navy blue. It looks almost like black, but it is a bit more navy, and you can kind of see the lime in it. Really gorgeous. I have used Marion before. I used a different colorway for my novice cardigan, and I really, really liked it. So this is 100% merino wool, and it's 50 grams and 220 meters per ball. Yes. I've only got one ball of this because I kind of was thinking of making some sort of accessory with it. I've got some other yarn that I think will pair really well with it. And it's just really soft. I really enjoyed using it when I when I made my novice cardigan, and I don't really gravitate towards this color, but I'm really liking it. So I got that. All right, so the next yarn I have to show you is all of this gorgeous Rosarius for Mia. And this is all like fingering weight sock yarn. It's 70% merino wool and 30% polyamide. As I've said before, I'm really inspired to make a bunch of socks, and so I took advantage of my boyfriend and got him to buy me a bunch of different sock yarn. The Mia range in the Rosarius 4 is like, they have so many colors, so many different colorways. So I was like, it's kind of like KnitPicks Stroll and stuff like that. They're just like a classic, easy, like merino and polyamide blend that comes in a range of different colors. I've used it briefly before and I really enjoyed it. So I thought I would, pick up some more colors so I can do more colorwork socks. More colorwork socks. Like, I've knit any colorwork socks. I haven't done any colorwork socks, but I intend to knit more socks, some being colorwork. And I thought that like all of these yarns kind of paired well together, so we've got this color here is, let's have a look. This color here is light blue 14, and it's this gorgeous kind of more purpley blue. It's kind of like periwinkle-ish, kind of cornflower-y, and this is by far my favorite color. And then, nearly dropped it. This is Carmine in Carmine 25, and it's this gorgeous burnt orange color, and I think these pair really well together. You'll notice that all of these yarns that I've picked up, I feel like they all are really interchangeable. Then I've got, what's this color? Red 26, which is this beautiful kind of true red color. They had an orangier red, but I really have been attracted to more true red colors. And I even love that with the blue. I think those two look really good together. I do love this, but I think these actually pair really well. Then I've got just a classic light pink. This is number 27. And that again is just a beautiful light pink. It is a bit lighter than I would gravitate towards. It's almost like in like a really bright light would almost look white. It's coming up more pink on screen, but again, I just think like, all these colors together look so good. And that's kind of my plan, is that to be able to like interchange, nice catch, kind of interchange between them all. Then we've got this color, which is a mint 20. This mint seam makes it look kind of like a bit more green, but it's kind of like like greeny blue. It's a bit more blue in person, but I think that looks really good together as well. So all of these colors are all in the Mia range, and my plan is just to do some stripes, do some color work. This I really like as well, and that's the one that I was thinking about pairing with the Marion, because I think those would look really cute as like some mittens or something with like contrasting, like I could do the school run mittens with this as the cuffs and this is the mane, or vice versa. I think they would look really, really cute together. So, oh my God, there's just too many. So that's why I kind of, been wanting to get more sock yarn so that I can knit more socks, because I feel like I thought I had a lot more leftover sock yarn than I do, but and I'm looking behind me and I'm seeing like there is like a bunch of sock yarn, but that's all stuff that I haven't used yet. It's all like not scraps, so I don't want to use that yet when I can kind of play around with all these 50-gram balls and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to knit more socks. I feel like that's going to be this channel now. It's just going to be like socks. But I promise I will be showing other things other than socks. The last acquisition that I have to show you is something really exciting and something that is very unexpected. I tried to tell myself this year that I wasn't going to buy much yarn. until Bendigo, to like the Bendigo Wool and Sheep show. But I have not been very good at that. Obviously, all of what I've showed you so far has been gifted, so at least that hasn't been bought. But this one was a bit of a splurge. I was watching Two Pearls in a Pod. They're a knitting podcast, in Australia. And they were talking about all of their kind of plans for this year, what they're going to be knitting, stuff like that. And Paige from the podcast showed this beautiful Nora yarn. This is the Nora yarn. Oh my God. This is the Nora Yarn Silk Garden Sock Solo in Ohm T82. And it's this gorgeous kind of pink based, like pastel dream loveliness. It's 25% silk, 30% wool, 10% mohair, and 25% nylon. And in 100 grams, you get 300 meters. So it is like a fingering weight. I would say it's a mix because it's not, obviously with Nora yarn, it's not completely consistent in terms of its thickness. It would vary from like a light fingering to a heavy fingering, but I guess that averages out to be an average fingering. And this is a huge splurge for me. So I saw her pull this color up and I saw her pair it with I think it was Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in Ballerina, and I just loved how it looked so much. And I've never really been interested in the Nora yarns. Like I've seen them in store and none of the colors have really spoken to me, but when I saw this kind of pinky color, and if you can't tell, I like pink, I don't know what came over me. I just needed to have it. I needed to have it straight away. And especially because, she was mentioning, and, this is pretty known, like Nora's pretty infamous for being hard to get, especially in more of the popular colors. And I just used my uni Googling skills to be able to find this and managed to track it down at a yarn store actually in Victoria in Australia. So they had 6 balls. I ordered all of them because that's about 1800 meters. And if I hold it with some sort of lace weight fluff, that will definitely be enough for me to make a sweater and maybe have a little bit left over for, random accessories here and there. I really, really love it. It's so gorgeous. When I tell you, this is definitely the most special yarn I've ever owned. It is so special. And I plan on knitting this with a lace weight fluff, but I don't want it to be a mohair, even though mohair would go well with this particular yarn base because it already has mohair in it. I just feel like I am one of those people who are a bit more sensitive to mohair, and I'm actually finding that's pretty common. A lot of the podcasters that I watch are kind of steering away from mohair, which is such a shock because I feel like when I first started podcasting, I first started watching podcasts, everyone was like, mohair's the best. Everyone was using mohair, pairing mohair with everything. Whereas now I feel like a lot of people are kind of trying to find substitutes. And so I'm really hoping to find an alpaca lace weight that is very similar, like a Suri alpaca that's very similar in color to Knitting for Olive. Ballerina, and I think I have found that. I've actually already had a mohair that is literally almost identical to Ballerina by Knitting for Olive, the soft silk mohair, in terms of the color, not the feel, because it's a very light, almost peachy pink, and this is literally exactly that color. This is the Gepard Kid Silk mohair in pink, light pink, I think. And I knit up a swatch with it just to see if I actually liked that particular combination. This is not blocked or anything because I only did it just to see the colors, but I think that looks really nice. I love the kind of how it brings out the tonal pinks in there. I love the contrasting kind of turquoise throughout the yarn, and I think it just looks really delicate but doesn't mute all of the tones of the yarn. So I really like the color combination, but I really want to find a nice Suri alpaca instead of a mohair because it's a bit too warm, bit too itchy for me. I've seen one by it's called the AQU by Chasky. They just released it. I think it's a new line, and I'm hoping my local yarn store gets it in, because that seems to be a really good color match and, you know, nice and soft, not as scratchy as mohair. So that is everything. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I know this one was a particularly long one, and I appreciate it if you've stuck around. It's a lot, and I'm sure in some parts of it I'm talking a million miles per second, but I just wanted to get all the information out in a timely manner. But yes, if you've stuck around this long, thank you. If you you know, want to see more of my content, or you know, wanting to support me, like, feel free to leave a comment, or like this video, or subscribe. You know, if you subscribe, turn on the notifications so that you get alerts when my videos get released. I feel like such a YouTuber, like I'm really doing the whole spiel, but yeah, it really helps out the channel, and really, like, you know, makes me feel supported, and makes me, you know, really grateful to be able to do this and share everything with you. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.